When I started training jiu-jitsu, I was about 130 pounds as a brand new white belt. I got absolutely destroyed and annihilated by these people who are much bigger than me and way more skilled than me. So today, I want to share with you guys the 5 key concepts that I wish I would have focused on as a smaller jiu-jitsu white belt. If you haven't already, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button down below. It does help me in the YouTube algorithm and get seen by more people who are needing help, just like you guys. So thank you guys for all your support. Also, I know majority of you guys that are watching are not subscribed, so make sure you do that right now. Training jiu-jitsu as a smaller person is probably one of the most challenging and toughest physical tasks that you can do as an individual. That's exactly why I encourage most people who are smaller to train jiu-jitsu and to stick with it. And there's really 2 main reasons why I highly recommend that. 1, because life isn't fair, and if you get into a physical altercation with another person out on the street, they're usually going to be much bigger than you. So learning how to take care of yourself and learning how to grapple and move around during a physical altercation with someone who is bigger is very beneficial. 2, I'm a big believer in doing hard things and doing things that are uncomfortable and that are challenging to us as individuals. This YouTube channel is an example of doing something that was very uncomfortable. I purposely made this YouTube channel to share my past experiences and my past failures and the past failures of my students to help share with the rest of the world. So that way, if you're having the same problems or you're wanting to avoid the problems that I made or my students made, this would be available for you guys. Here's the thing. I had no idea how to film. I had no idea how to edit a video. I had no idea even how to talk on camera. So that's why sometimes the quality is whatever, but it's enough to get the information out there for you guys. But it was very uncomfortable in the beginning when I started doing this. Now let's get into these 5 key concepts that I wish I would have focused on as a smaller white belt. The first one is try to attach more positivity with the bottom positions than negativity. I know me personally, when I was a white belt, I made the bottom position feel very bad and I took it very personally and I attached it with negativity. I thought that if you were in the bottom position, it was bad, and the whole goal was to get out of the bottom position as fast as possible. Now, that is true to an extent, especially in the self-defense world. If I'm in a self-defense altercation, I don't want to be in the bottom if I can help it. There's a good chance you might be there, but you don't want to try and purposely put yourself there. So I think what that does a lot of times is students get it kind of misconstrued that the bottom position is bad. The reality is, though, is whenever you're starting to train jiu-jitsu and you're starting to roll as a smaller white belt, even though you've learned some of these techniques to escape, you're doing them on other skilled individuals. So there's a good chance they're not going to work right away because you don't know them good enough. You haven't developed the knowledge into skill yet. So you need to keep practicing, but that doesn't mean what you have learned is invaluable. But don't associate being in the bottom as negative. Take it for what it is and understand that that's just part of the course, and you're going to get better and you're going to be able to learn more techniques and get better at those techniques so you can get out of the bottom. So start accepting the bottom position as being positive, or this is just what I have to do, and start figuring out ways to get better with it versus just getting sulky about it and treating it like I did super negatively. The next factor is focusing on getting stronger or strength training or lifting weights versus training jiu-jitsu. For me personally, when I started training jiu-jitsu, I was 18 years old and I was going to school for exercise science. I actually have a degree in kinesiology. And so I was really a nerd about lifting weights and understanding the whole physiology system. And a lot of times I thought I could maybe hack jiu-jitsu training, if you want to call it that, by focusing on strength training and just getting stronger, which will help. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make that big of a difference. Usually we only have a fine amount of time that you can train jiu-jitsu. So don't think that, oh, if I don't go to jiu-jitsu tonight and I should be able to weight lift or do whatever, it's going to make a big impact. In reality, it doesn't matter. If I'm 130 pounds and I put on 20 pounds of solid muscle, it doesn't really do anything for you. Will you be more annoying? Yes. Will you be able to handle a little bit more pressure on you? Yes. But it doesn't ultimately help your goal, which is, I'm assuming, getting better at jiu-jitsu and developing your knowledge into more skill. So don't think that just focusing on strength training is going to fix your other problems in jiu-jitsu. Never sacrifice one for the other, and really start playing the small man jiu-jitsu game. So if you guys are digging this information, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button again down below. Also, if you're wanting more help, check out my free resource guide that's in the description below that can start to help you guys accelerate your jiu-jitsu maybe just a little bit faster. Also, make sure you guys leave me a comment about what you find is most frustrating as training as a smaller white belt, or even leave me a comment about a friend that you might have who's a smaller white belt and some struggles that they've shared with you. Focus number 3 is you need to become a little bit more patient versus forcing too many opportunities. I remember when I was a white belt, I got stuck in the bottom of side control a lot, and so I really hated being down there. And what I would try to do is after I got my hands in the right spot and I wanted to try to escape, I would almost try to force it too much. I would try to use some of that strength that I talked about I thought I was building up in the gym. And usually what it did is because I didn't understand the grasp of how to use the space I was creating, I would put my head in the wrong spot, or I would wait too long to try to escape, and it usually got me into more danger. So usually becoming a little bit more patient and waiting for them to make the space for you is a game changer. Once you can develop that as a skill, you will start to turn a little bit more of a defense into being more offensive because they created the space and not you. Also, I want to be clear that that doesn't mean that you should just lay there like a limp fish or that you're stalling. You're simply just being patient and shutting down all of their possible advancements or all of their possible attacks. And as they become more frustrated, they will open up space. This is kind of a hack and of a way that you can start becoming a little bit more offensive quicker. Key focus number 4 is that don't wait too long to make sweeps one of your greatest weapons as a smaller white belt. I know I was terrible at sweeping as a white belt. I honestly never looked for sweeps, hardly ever. I would just try to flop around like a dead fish and just try to get out as fast as I could. Usually what happens as a smaller white belt, or really any white belt, is that we have submissions on the brain and we kind of forget about sweeps because we thought arm locks and chokes and all these other things were so much cooler that we just bypass sweeps. The reality is that the first offense that you're really going to be successful with as a smaller white belt is going to be sweeping people, and that's how you can get on top of people. You might be able to start getting some submissions from the bottom as well, such as like arm locks and triangles and maybe even collar chokes. But making sweeps as one of your main weapons is a big piece of advice that I wish I know I would have done sooner and that I really encourage my smaller white belts. Often this is going to be because you are in bad positions like the bottom of the mount or bottom of side control, and it's very easy for you to engage into maybe a half guard or a half butterfly to now you can start hitting certain sweeps and certain moves from those positions, which is going to help you either get top position or at least help you get them off of you. I didn't really do that. I just tried to bypass all that, and I wish I would have done that. Me being a black belt now and still being smaller, sweeps are one of the strongest part of my games, and it's one of the main things I use to attack to be more offensive. Key focus number 5 is don't run away from the small man jiu-jitsu game. Man, this one is very personal to me because I really did this. I attempted to run away from the small man jiu-jitsu game like no one else. I live in Oklahoma and there's a lot of wrestlers here. And usually, you're trying to get on top. You're trying to emulate the people that you really admire. You're seeing them crush everybody and have great top pressure. But the reality is I didn't have a wrestling background and I really needed to accept the small man jiu-jitsu game. By no means am I saying you can't ever play top control as a smaller person or you can't ever apply crushing weight. But the longer you run away from it, you are just hindering your progress that much more. The people who you're training with, the people who you're sparring with, especially if they're bigger than you or even more skilled than you, you're probably not going to be able to out-wrestle them unless you have some previous experience in that realm, and you better be stinking good because mass and size does matter. So don't run away from the small man jiu-jitsu game. Don't make it negative. Try to associate it with being positive and just accepting it for what it is. Now, I understand for some of you guys, you might find this very hard to hear, and it might be even conflicting some other views that you've heard or some other views that you have thought about, but just know that this is just my personal experience as being a smaller white belt and also coaching smaller white belts throughout my career. These are the things that I've seen them have success with and that I've actually personally coached them into doing, and I've seen it change their game firsthand. Also, quick cliff note, this is going to be a little bit of a different idea, especially if you're training for a tournament. The idea of a tournament is that you want to be aggressive and you want to start to dominate and impose your will. when we're talking about training and we're talking about getting better with the assets that we have around us, you need to learn how to use them. And so you just ramming your head into the wall and doing things that defy the laws of physics are just going to hinder your journey, possibly lead you to quitting, and also slow down your progression, which I don't think any of us want to do. So make sure you start accepting the small man jiu-jitsu game if that is you. Thank you guys for making it to another end of this video. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button again down below. Also, if you haven't already, grab my free acceleration guide down in the description below. And if you're a struggling student, either a white belt or a blue belt or all kinds of belts, and you're wanting my help, I have an online coaching program that I kind of guide you through a way of developing a training system. I have all belt levels in it, from white to brown belt in it. And it's simply just another resource for you guys to be able to use to improve your jiu-jitsu. So if that's something you're interested in, you can fill out your application to work with me down below. So that way I can make sure we're both a good fit for each other and we can get you going in the right direction. Make sure you guys check out this next video right here where I talk about the 3 pillars that you need to be successful at training jiu-jitsu long term. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.